YouTube, my name's Rick, and today I'm bringing you another World of Warcraft video. Today we're going to be specifically talking about the differences between retail Warcraft and of course the upcoming classic Warcraft. Now all I'm going to be talking about in this video is pretty much what you will not be seeing in classic, what classic really is, and we're going to run down those few to many things that we have there. So first we're starting off in the Night Elf city of Darnassus. It's very beautiful, very outdoorsy, so for you druids out there, perfect place to be if you're on the Alliance, of course. If you are going to be a druid though on the Horde, that would be your trolls. Those are your only two choices there for that. But we're not going to talk about that just yet. Let's talk about a few simple things. So let's start with the areas in general. So as I said, we're in Darnassus, as you can see right here, and the rest of Tedrassil, as you can see, it says 1 to 20. It says 1 to 20. But the leveling of that area was actually very different. You see, over here, even though it would be considered 1 to 20 because the animals scale up with you, instead of just being what they are in that area, this has been normally, most starting areas are 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and then of course to the rest of Tedrassil would be around 6 to about 10, 6 to 11, and then you would go to your main city, do what you have to do here, and after your main city you would travel to Darkshore, at least in that aspect. Of course you can always go from here into another area. I know I did that, and then I came here because I already knew it, and I went straight to Westfall. Even though Westfall said 10 to 60, it was originally 12 to 15. So in that instance, you're going to want to make sure that you do level up close as possible to the next level. In original classic World of Warcraft, you didn't really get that chance per se. You pretty much had to after your quests were done, because there weren't as many quests as there are now. You don't have heirlooms to help you out here in order to, level up even faster, to make sure you have enough when you get to the next level. You don't have all that. The best thing you have is you're rested here, 200% of your normal experience. Or I do remember back in the day they had these WoW tokens that they aren't the ones that we have today, which is of course that allow you to get to just the 10 below the max, which is in the case of 120. It basically just increased your percentage of how much XP you're going to get for a significant amount of time. I think it was an hour or so. Anyway, not the point. Point is that you can't get extra XP. You pretty much only have this and that. And if you want to level up and you're out of quest, you just have to go grind and kill creatures. So speaking of this menu right here, basically your handy dandy notebook. Point to those who remember where that's from. You have your appearances, your toy boxes, your pet journal, and your mounts. All of this doesn't exist. None of it here exists. This thing does not exist at all. So if you were someone who really liked, for Druid, with this character I pretty much just ran through, that's why he has nothing. But let's just say you really liked, let's say you really like the Black Wing Layer raid gear. Let's just say you really love this gear as a Druid. Well, if you were wearing, this, this helmet here, and you're wearing your chest piece and pants, but your pauldrons and your gloves and your feet, your boots were different, you couldn't really do anything about it because transmog, that's what really much this is for, doesn't exist. You didn't have transmog whatsoever, so that's unfortunate, but it's part of the game, not there. Again, like I said, no heirlooms, they don't exist. Toy boxes. Now, toys did exist. I don't remember that many toys when I was first starting the game. I remember like one of my first real toys that I got was an enchanted lantern. I think I made it with my I think my enchanter made it at the time. I can't really find it here anymore. This is the closest thing to it. But Elun's lantern. Yeah, you did get this during the Moon Festival. That happens every year. So you have the ability to get that whenever you actually want to. But the point is that you didn't have this list here. It would be in your bag, so you'd have to carry them. If you don't want to carry them, you put them in your bank. Same thing with pets. If you were collecting pets, that's fine. You can go through all your little, your different pets here. I got baby Winston. Throughout that you find through Azeroth and everything, your collections that you get from, the collection versions when you buy the new expansions. All that stuff is, it's not in a journal like this. It'd be in your bag here, taking up space, or in your bank. So pretty much, unlike showing off like we do today with pets and mounts, and even toys, you can't really do that now. And speaking of mounts, here are the mounts here that I have collected. I have a total 111. I'm very proud of them. Most are store-bought, unfortunately. When I say store-bought, I mean I went to one of these guys. Well, maybe not that guy. He's the trainer. I went to this guy here, the saber handler, and I bought each and every one of these. Oh, wow, I don't have these? Oh, I need to buy these. Oh, I'm gonna do that right now. Oh shit. That one? That one? How did I buy these but not these? Weird that I didn't do that. Well, and now you get to see me make a purchase and add to my collection here. So great. But as I said, since this is being added to my collection, as this shows right here, originally you would have to have one of these in your bag in order to summon it, and of course you can just put it there, like I have my hippogriff right there. You can do that, but in the end it was in your bag. So you would only have the one mount you really needed, because in World of Warcraft, to get your level 40 mount, that's right, your first mount came at level 40 to get your 60% mount, which is what I just got these right here. These are your now they're level 20. You got them at level 40, and these for your 100% mount were normally at level 60 when you were capped. Now at level 40. And of course, if you are someone into flying mounts, like my druid form here, or my hippogriff that I was just on, I'll show you again. These didn't exist for us to use in Classic WoW, so no flying for us. Everything was on the ground, just like how we are in Retail WoW right now, until they get Pathfinder Part 2 out for Zandalar. That's when this video is coming out. Before that, anyway, when you do reach level 40 again, you would go to this guy, and unlike this nice cool parchment and the way that there it is, they would have it like this. As you can see where the money is, it's like a one small little thin line. That's how it looked. It said the phrase apprentice writer, and right next to it said how much money it was, but it was like one little line. It wasn't that fancy looking. It didn't have a symbol. It just said it, and you just clicked and went. Of course, the writers, it's kind of funny that it only has these two now, but later on in the game, when it went to Burning Crusade and even to Wrath of the Lich King, the writers, they knew more than just the two. They knew pretty much all of them, except for like if you wanted to learn flying, you had to learn it. I believe you had to learn your main city. I don't really remember, it's that many years ago, but I do remember when you had to learn flying for Wrath of the Lich King, cold weather flying, you had to be at Dalaran, that was in Northern. So again, it's all that stuff there. Anyway, moving on. So that's the difference there. So when you play Classic WoW, you don't get your riding mount until you're level 40. Of course, they did this so you would actually, it would make the game last longer for you, yet so quests would be a little slower if you're trying to get from point A up here to maybe, to the Temple of the Moon down here. It's like, or you have to go back all the way here to the Starbreeze village, or back to Shadow, whatever it is, or if you were somewhere, let's go to a place that I actually know. If you were in Duskwood, and you were here at Twilight Grove, and you had to get to Darkshire, etc., etc. So that's just something you have to be worried about when it comes to that. So speaking of travel, let's get to a flight path. Maybe that'll show a little light a few things here. So speaking of that, here's the Quartermaster for Darnassus. again, I just ran this guy through, so I don't have exalted yet. Bags are 16. I think that was the highest you can get when it came to bags. This guy won't be here in Classic because Worgens didn't come out until Cataclysm. So okay, so here's a little rogue here. All right, so this is the Hippogriff Master. She allows you to fly to anywhere you have a path, but here's the crazy thing. So if I wanted to go to Everlook in Winter Spring, as you can see, before Everlook, there are 3 other stops that I have to make in order to get to Everlook. If I don't have those 3 other spots to get there, I can't get to it. You'll get a thing that says no flight path found, or available, because in Classic you actually had to stop to each individual spot in order to fly wherever you want to go. So if you're trying to get all the way down here to Oldham, you had to make sure you had all those flight paths to get down there. You couldn't just be like, okay, I have this one and I have this one, I can just fly the whole way, right? No, you had to stop at each individual one, pay, and then go again. It was a pain in the ass in Classic WoW. Don't get me wrong. And you can, even though it says like this, for example, to get to all the way to Oldham, it says 1 gold, 71 silver, and 50 copper. Well, if you were to add up each individual run to get to Oldham, whatever it was here, it will add up to that. That's why it costs that much. It only costs 13 copper to get here to Darkshore. So that's something else to look forward to in Classic. And so it basically, again, what they did is it was harder for us to get to places just to make the game longer. So that's definitely a neat option there. Let's see here. So I did talk about all this. So let's go to the appearances for a second. So with the in the appearances, there is these 3 raids: Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, and the Temple of Anchorage. I can never pronounce it. I just call it AQ. AQ 40, which is what this temple is. There's also another AQ right next to it. I think it's a 25-man. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played it. And of course, there's Anixia's Lair, where it's a 10 and 25-man. Anixia's Lair is literally just one boss. That's why it doesn't have a set, and the other AQ area doesn't have a set because the main one does. But those are the only raids you can get into. And again, if you're not in a guild, you're not going to be raiding. And speaking of such things, let's bring up Raid Finder. Aha! And also Dungeon Finder. So this is a little thing that has come up in recent expansions. In the original World of Warcraft Vanilla WoW, the best thing you can get when it comes to this is something called meeting stones. Now, we do have meeting stones still today. However, the meeting stones we have today are more like summoning stones, just like how a warlock can summon. That power has been there since forever for warlocks, but the meeting stones were pretty much you signed up and hope to God you had a group that actually could do everything. Unlike the Dungeon Finder, where it says you're a tank, healer, or DPS, or 2, or all 3, to designate what you are. So in a pre-patch to Burning Crusade in January, I believe it was January, in 2007, I believe, yeah, I think it was 2007, they took out the meeting stones as is and turned them into just summoning stones, even though they are still called meeting stones because you're meeting somebody there. But again, Dungeon Finder itself didn't come out until much later. I personally really like Dungeon Finder because I can remember years. I'm just going to bring it up, Westfall, over here. I can remember years where I was in Moonbrook and somebody wanted to do the Dead Mines, which was dubbed VC because another dungeon called Dire Maul had the initials DM assigned to it. It was called VC because Van Cleef. I mean, there is a Van Cleef in the Dead Mines again, but it's like that was the daughter. Now her father, the original Van Cleef, the original leader of the Bandit gang down there. Yeah, so that's why it was named after him. That's why it's called VC. But either way, and a lot of confusion. Yada, yada. Point is that in Classic, if you are going to do Dead Mines, just say Dead Mines or say VC. Classic players, veteran players will know what you're talking about. If you are a new player, you're trying to get new players to help you, just say Dead Mines. That'd be 10 times easier. But I do remember we were trying to find, because you get quests you would get quests there, in Moonbrook at the Dead Mines. But it'd be hard to get people together, and you couldn't just leave, because again, you couldn't summon someone there unless you had a warlock, yada yada. You can't just go off to, you can't just sign up here like in the Dungeon Finder, and pick whichever, like, oh, I'm gonna just pick this raid here because I have a quest in the thicket or whatever it is. That's not hard for any of us to do. Or it's like, I just need some random stuff, so I'm just going to go random dungeoning, and I'll be DPS, yada yada, and just move on my merry way when I'm doing other quests. So that's something to think about. And Raid Finder, of course, didn't exist at all or anything. I mean, there were meeting stones by raids, but again, to sign up and wait for that, it's best to have been in a guild. I strongly suggest, if you are going to play Classic and you do want to do endgame stuff and you do want to raid, strongly suggest get into a guild. It's the only real way you're going to be able to do so. And just a final note on Raid Finder, I know there's hate about LFR, saying it takes away from what the game originally was, where it was very social, being MMO RPG, the multimedia online, multiplayer online. But now that we have world quests, I mean, I don't have them active here, but now that we have world quests from here, world quests around here, and world quests around here, you can get geared almost as good. I mean, my paladin, I'm not in any guild on my main anymore, just because. And I just want to say, before I say that, I just want to say, when I started this game in 2004 and playing every single expansion and only hating really one of them, which was Warlords of Draenor, I just hated the storyline with the whole changing of the past and yada yada. Anyway, I wasn't in a guild. I was very social. I was on my game. I went off when I had to leave, and I blah 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 this, and I was there. I used to raid Karazhan weekly. I used to do all these different raids with my guilds all the time. But times changed for me. I'm not in college anymore. It's not easier for me. I'm a regular working man, 9 to 5, Joe Schmo. So I had to, world quests for me, the Warfronts, LFR is a godsend for someone who does want to still experience endgame and get some good gear. So there's good. And of course, the pre-made groups never existed. Or pre-made groups was you going into the cities, pressing /1 into general and going, "Hey, anybody want to help me?" And it's like, help. I'm not gonna type that. Anyway, so there's with that when it comes to dungeons and raids. So you pretty much have to group up. Again, when you're in the area and for Classic, it's not that hard to do so. So let's talk about questing. Let's talk about that now. So when it came to questing, as you can see right here, we have this fancy thing that says quests, and it's this list right here that says quests. Now, you did have this in Classic. Don't get me wrong, this was here. However, it wasn't easy for you. See these little bulbs that are right next to it? These little question marks? Oops, ran into the arch. You see these? You see them? These question marks were not here. If I were to look these on a map, let's see here, Order Hall, blah blah. Okay, like this bulb right here is not here on these maps. The end where I end a quest is not there. Hey, telling you that there's these quests here that you can possibly pick up on your way. They don't exist in Classic WoW. There is no easy way to find things or do things in it. Or it's like, you literally had to okay, so what do I have to do? I need to speak to the Archmage Khadgar to fly down to Ashura. Okay, I see, fly down to, okay, here's the nice little lore of story about what I'm about to do here. Okay, cool. Where am I going to find you? Okay, I have to go here, and find you. Boom, 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 done. That's the huge difference when it comes to Classic WoW and now, because in Classic WoW it's just like, okay, what do I have to do now? Alright, where's down to Ashura? Okay, it's in Dalaran. Okay, I'll just follow the dot. There's no arrow. I mean, it's not showing it here because I'm not in a place where there's an arrow. I'm not close to something where an arrow would be, but there's no arrow in your mini maps up here that will that will tell you where to go to. You know, or if they're, or even if you were looking at something on here and it was, this dot was maybe invisible, or they just took that away or something just to make it a little harder, which 99.999% of the time they don't do anymore, so that's not true. Or you can't find the yellow dot, or oh, I know with world quests today, if you were trying to kill something, right, and if the monster's already dead, but you can't find where the lair is, you can't find one thing or the other, the arrow will still point to where you have to go. But again, in classic WoW, that doesn't exist. Where, as you can see, all these flight paths, you know, showing where they are, they don't exist. So that's something. It just makes the game a little bit harder, but at the same time, you read more of the lore, you find out what's going on, you understand more of the story, because unlike retail WoW, you don't have cinematics to just show you every little goddamn thing. It's just not there. Alright, so also with questing, as you can see with this thing here, the Stringent Screecher. So as you can see on the bottom right in my corner, when I highlight it, or the fact that I clicked on it, you can see that it says Stringent Screecher level 20 beast. Now, as I said earlier, enemies or non-violent enemies, like, you know, because it's yellow, but it can still become an enemy, they don't level up to you. Again, this area is at most 20 now. They had a designated level in comparison. This was, again, from what I remember, a 12 to 15, so being near the city, this is probably closer to maybe 12, 13. I don't know. I don't remember. A long time ago when I played a Night Elf back in Classic. But as I said, it's definitely, it would be a specific thing. So let's just say in a quest, because I don't have one I can show you, but let's just say in a quest it said I needed 20 feathers, and I had to kill this specific guy for the 20 feathers. Now, if there's another bird similar to the Stringent Screecher over there, and I kill it thinking it's the exact same one because I have the same character model, I won't get the feathers. And you might be thinking, well, it's highlighted, right? No, in Classic WoW, you don't get the glow on the bottom, and if you highlight, it would say just as it says, Stringent Screecher level, whatever it level is and what kind of creature is being a beast. It won't say 0 of 20 feathers or 5 of 20 feathers that you need to get. So, there's a thing you won't see in Classic WoW, being the show 4 right there. You only get that if you have enough, if you get 35 or more heirlooms, so there's no way you're going to get that. So with combat aside, you pretty much had to make sure you killed the exact thing and correctly. Also, as well as this, what is that? That's a Pandarian Hunter. Also, as well as this, they definitely scaled back the the health of a lot of creatures. You know, when you're like level 3, you'll be at like 180 health, but the creatures were 45 health. They're definitely a lot stronger when it comes to fighting, so there's that. Okay, let's talk about PvP for my fellow PvPers here. Let's go into talents. So, for PvP, we have two things. Today we have War Mode. I have to be in Stormwind here, or for the Horde, I have to be in Orgrimmar. War Mode, of course, increases experience by 15%. And that means people can kill you, and you also enable these extra talents, which is good, and also you increase your reward capability. You know, something can go from blue to purple by 15%, possibility by 15%. So there's that. But in Classic WoW, the PvP was done totally different. First and foremost, you can be on a PvP realm. They took those away basically before War Mode. They had 4 different realms. They had regular PvE realm, they had a role-playing realm, and then they had a PvP version of each of those. They took away those two, made every realm either regular PvE or role-play PvE, and gave us War Mode. I mean, even without War Mode, you can still go up here and enable player versus player. You can still have that on, but again, the War Mode just gives you more in that sense, more challenge and with more reward. So I have 5 minutes. I'm in my own city, so I should be just fine. Not gonna. And while we're on this, the talents is definitely different. Unlike today, where talents is more like, how does this help me? How does this really, really help with what I already learned from, from my normal spell book? That's what these talents are. Unlike the old talents where you were picking your specialization wasn't just a point and click and you get one of these. You would actually have 3 talent trees. And druids did have originally 3 talent trees, not 4 as they changed it to, and then sports specializations like this when they changed it. They had 3 talent trees, one for balance, one for feral, and one for restoration, which they show here: balance, feral, restoration. Feral and guardian used to be 1 because the bear and the cat form did together. So there's that to really think about there. So you had to make sure your talents were actually picked correctly. I mean, it sucked to say we'd have to do cookie cutter stuff, but you had to make sure you picked the right talents. We were all saying, to Blizzard, if you would just put the talent trees back and just put what we really would use and what really would need, then we wouldn't be like wasting our time with not picking something, etc., etc. Okay, so I don't know where the... Oh, I know what the auction house is. I was like, I don't know where it is, and yes, I do know where it is. So, the auction house is here in game. If you were to go to an auction house and you were to buy or sell some houses in Classic or Vanilla WoW, if you buy something here today or in the old game, whatever someone would put here in this particular auction house, being we're in Darnassus, is what you can buy from. Unlike in retail today, if I were to put something here under armor, like mail, feed, whatever, I put this down, whatever it was, it's great, but at the same time, the problem is that in the old game, no one would be able to buy it. But in this game, if I put it in Darnassus, someone in Stormwind or someone in any other city or anywhere else you can get an auction could get it. But that's something in Classic that they will not have if they are going to play the original game. So you have to make sure you go to the one that everybody is actually selling to. It's actually kind of interesting in that sense, because you see how the prices are here. They're going to be stagnant no matter what, because whatever you search here, when you're going to sell something, it doesn't matter if you sell it here or in any other city, it's going to be the exact same price for the realm that you're on. However, if you were to sell something here for, let's say, this guy's selling these boots as a buyout for 3,300 gold, you can go to Ironforge, where in Vanilla WoW that was the big place. It could be actually triple the price, where you can go to a different auction house and it could maybe even less. But that's the trade-off. You can get it for cheaper, but more than likely you're not going to find it in that auction house, where in the auction houses that you're more than likely going to find it, you're going to be paying a little bit more, because that's where the foot traffic is. And if we are anything like our original selves, we're going to use the auction house in Ironforge for the Alliance, while we use the auction house in Orgrimmar for the Horde. But then again, things might be different these days, because Stormwind is considered the central capital when it comes to... Are you that close to the person? Dude, you look, you're just like... It's like someone's trying to push your faces together, and you're like, I need a piece of that. Beard on beard action. Yeah, they got the same beard too. Look at that. They just have different haircuts, but about the same beard. Oh yeah, there you go. He's found his lover. Aw, good for him. Anyway, that being said, okay. So something I didn't go over when I was talking about PvP stuff is Battlegrounds. I can't believe I forgot about the Battlegrounds, but it's okay. So when it comes to Battlegrounds, again, this screen here allows you to join a PvP battle, whether it's a random battleground, epic, arena skirmish, which I didn't do too much back in the day. I did it with my guildies. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't that great with it. But and I never did brawls. But hey, cool. Yeah, they got the Brawlers Guild and everything. That's awesome. But originally, if you wanted to join a battleground, this a specific battleground. For example, like I remember the Altered Valley and Warsong Gulch were the two I did. No, I'm sorry, not Altered. I did all three. I did the Warsong Gulch, the Arthur Basin, and Altered Valley for God knows how long in vanilla. And then Burning Crusade came out. I did Eye of the Storm a hell of a lot of times. But you would have to go to the individual areas in order to actually sign up to do everything. You couldn't just join the battle like this. And again, and not only that, it does none of this. Let's see if I go back here to there. You know, oh, the rated here. There was no ratings or anything like this. I mean, there was ratings, don't get me wrong, but there was not like these prizes at the end and all that kind of stuff there too. So that's definitely something to look forward to in Classic. I mean, again, if you're just one person who loves the PvP, but you don't want to do it out in the world like a PvP realm, you can just, instead of doing this anymore, you would have to go to the specific battlegrounds. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were still prizes, there were still worthy reasons to get into the battlegrounds, because there were these, there was currency, like how we have currency, like a Time Warp badge. There were badges and tokens to win, and you would use them to buy some PvP gear. And PvP gear was really good, mostly in PvP. Not saying you couldn't use it for PvE, but it definitely wouldn't be really good for any heroic dungeons, especially raids. You would need specific armor for that. So specifically for raids and stuff, all that. Now, speaking of that too, with specific armors, there were raids that you definitely wanted to have certain people with you at all times. So for example, let's see here, where are we here? Let's try and find the Molten Core if we can find it. Okay, the Molten Core would be, I'm in the, okay, yeah. So the Molten Core is actually in this area over here, just below the Iron Summit in Syrian Gorge, and just above the Flamestar Post and the Burning Steps. The Molten Core is a great example of what you might be, what set, if you're going for certain sets here, in Classic WoW. It's not important now because we don't have these stats of it now, because you can see the stats here of what is available, but we also used to have stats of resistances, and that's nature resistance, fire resistance, all the things that we actually do a lot of damage with certain spells. We ourselves had resistances to. So when we went to go into the Molten Core as an example, you definitely need to have fire resistance, because the name alone lets you know what you're going to be dealing with. You're also going to want to bring frost mages, so that was also a big thing in Classic and Vanilla WoW, and also in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. If you didn't bring certain people or certain classes in their certain specializations, that would be another problem. It's not a horrible problem, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you may not be invited to the raid, or if and again, your guild is going to say, hey, we need you to play this. I do know, even though there are 3 tanking classes, as Druid's one of them, Warrior and Paladins were the 3 tanking classes in Classic and Vanilla WoW. Druids and Paladins, again, even though I have a tank ability, Druids and Paladins were mostly used for DPS and especially healing, more often than not. Paladins, even though priests do have the best healing by my opinion, Paladins have the best armor to healer, because you can wear plate armor in that. That's another thing also about your specializations. So in the beginning, whether if you're a leather wearer like I am, or if you're a cloth wearer, more than likely you will be continuing to wear that kind of armor the entire time in the game. However, plate armor wearing classes such as the warrior and the paladin, they started wearing mail armor. They didn't start wearing plate armor. You learned how to wear plate armor later on in the game, so that's something to look forward to as well. Just be wary of it. You might be going, what the hell, why am I wearing mail? I'm not getting anything good. You're not high enough level yet. That's the real problem. You were not taught how to do that yet. So just be weary of all of that. Let's see here. What else? Oh, the Temple Gardens. What a beautiful. I am glad that they do have different models and they cleaned up a lot of the place. I think that's the only real change they're going to do for Classic WoW, because on a lot of private servers where you were able to just experience vanilla, because a lot of people were purists in that way, and I was whatever you had to do. Oh, there's the monks. You're not going to see those in vanilla WoW. When it comes to the purists, they thought vanilla WoW was the only one you actually needed. So they had those private realms. They never had the upgraded graphics of character models or buildings or items or mounts or anything. So I think when they launch quote-unquote Classic WoW, they're going to have the differences in people and in items and things, even portals here. I think all these people I think they're going to definitely keep that, because it's one of those small improvements. The engine's definitely going to be the improvements. Not everything from 2004 is not what you're going to be witnessing in that sense of when it comes to technology. Now again, when it comes to the story and when it comes to available classes and when it comes to available races, it's going to be the original game, and be aware of that. And like I said, as a small recap, with so much to do in this game, you're gonna play it and you're gonna see that it's a slower progression from level 1 to level 60. And you're also going to see that you can't do things as fast in between when it comes to raising your professions or getting into dungeons and raids, or not just leveling up in general, but the quests in general. They could take longer to complete. You might need more friends. So there are definitely a lot of quests that nowadays that I know. It says you need 3 people. It's suggested that 3 people take on the quests. Well, it's not going to be. It's going to be that hard now. It's going to be that hard. One thing I wanted to bring up. We should have our first aid back, because that was just taken out recently with this newest expansion. But we should get first aid back for a secondary. But that also means when it comes to professions, there is no jewel crafting, and you will not find inscription. I think that's the only 2 new ones after vanilla WoW, for what I can remember. But needless to say, that doesn't matter. So that's pretty much everything you're going to be expecting in Classic WoW. If you haven't played it before and you're wanting to see how your quote-unquote forefathers played it, look, I'm a seal. Well, at least I think I'm a seal. I can't see myself. Oh, there we go. I love that I can just do that. It just transform. Like, I'm gonna swim. I'm gonna fly. But anyway, yeah, that's everything you're gonna expect in the game, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope it was informative. If you have any questions about Classic WoW, any specifics I didn't go over in the generalization I did here today, in this video today, please put in the comments below. I'll answer as best as possible. If there's anything specific or a class that was maybe you want to know what was a class like back then, or what was it really used for. Like I said, even though paladins and druids have the ability to tank, you weren't really asked to do it. I'm not saying you couldn't take, like a 5-man or any kind of dungeons, or even some heroics. I'm not saying you couldn't do that. But I am saying, there weren't really heroics from what I can remember in Classic. It's been a while, but what I am saying, no, there was hard challenges. Anyway, what I am saying is that when it comes to WoW, back in the day, things were a lot different than they are today. And just be prepared for it if you're going to be playing the classic servers. Figure out what you want to try to do, and just have a good time with it. And hopefully we'll see you guys on the servers. We'll band together, join up, maybe guild up, and have ourselves a fun time. And with that bear in the wooden bear of a bank in my face, let's find a nice little spot here, something glorious. I know a place. Here we go. Oh yeah, the fact they updated this alone. See all these ruins? These ruins weren't even here before. They just had this tree and a little light, and then you went through and went and got the hell out. So yeah, everything will be back to normal. How things look after the Cataclysm will be changed back. And again, if you played after Cataclysms, like if you played from Mist of Pandaria and beyond, then this is your chance to look at the place, basically Azeroth anew, that you've never ever seen before. And I think the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to World of Warcraft is basically the races and the classes that you're able to do. So we are going to just log out in 1 second. Hopefully it goes really quick. If it doesn't, I will edit it. So I'll see you guys as soon as I can. Hold on one moment. Alright, that was quick, so we're good there. So here is my Druid in all its glory, and we're going to look at the create a character to help us out. So in Classic WoW, you don't have this full thing. You definitely don't have pandas, you won't have goblins or worgans, you don't have the Draenei or blood elves. In Classic WoW, or Vanilla WoW, you only have 4 races on each side. And for the Horde, you have the Undead, the Orc, the Tauren, and the Trolls, while the Alliance side has humans, dwarves, night elves, and gnomes. Over here, out of all the classes that you can be, Monk, Demon, and Death Knight, you can't be in Vanilla and Classic WoW because let's see, this came out in the 3rd expansion, this came out in the Legion expansion, so Wrath of the Lich King, Legion, and this came out in Mist of Pandaria, so none of that is there. Also, some races that have certain access to classes now, like for example, Taurens did not originally have a Paladin as their abilities. They did not have Tauren. They didn't have Paladins, so that's something you have to look forward to. That some races don't have certain access that they have. Again, for Druids, and again, Druid is very specific. It was for Trolls. It was for the Taurens, and I believe just the Night Elves. Yeah, it was just So if you want to be a Druid on the Alliance, you would be a Night Elf. You had the choices here with Tauren and Troll on the Horde side. If you wanted to be a Paladin, as I said before, you had to be human or dwarf. There was no other Horde that can do it. And if you wanted to be a Shaman, even though dwarves can be shamans now, if you wanted to be a shaman, you had to be on the Horde side. With orcs and taurens and of course trolls. It wasn't until Burning Crusade where you can be a paladin on the Horde side or a shaman on the Alliance side. He can also be a paladin as well, so another paladin. But then in Cataclysm, other races got an overhaul, not just in character models, but also more access to classes. This is something I actually do hope for Classic, that Taurens can still be a paladin, but I think for the Classic experience, they're not going to do that. It's just whatever these 4 races on each side were able to do the first time around, they're going to do that. Also, we have the more info here. Now, more info allows you to see extra things that a certain class is able to do. Now, in human, see how it says increase haste, crit, strike, mastery, and versatility? Again, these bonuses will be different, because I remember when I started out on the game, just trying it out, I did a human, and he had an ability with the weapon skills, with maces and swords, one-handed and two-handed maces and swords. So yeah, so be on the lookout on the different abilities humans, not just humans, but the different abilities they have, and go for it. Now, I know I've done another video about this before, but I'm just going to dive in a little bit. Honestly, when it comes to what race you want to be and what class you want to go with, it doesn't matter in the end. It's who you want to be. If you want to be an undead warrior, be an undead warrior. If you want to be a gnome priest or a mage, be a gnome priest, or hey, even a warlock, go for it. It didn't really matter in the end. Now, don't get me wrong, certain races had better leveling experiences with certain classes, but like I said, it doesn't really matter in the end. But check it. But if you want to see what difference there is, check out what their racial abilities will be. And to be honest, on the Alliance side, humans and orcs are very similar in respect to each other of what can do what. But depending on what you want to do, look at the race and see if it's good enough for you. So with that being said, I think that's everything that Classic WoW is going to have to offer for you. If this sounds great to you, it's like, okay, it's like World of Warcraft but on hard mode, then go for it. I say try it, have fun with it. It doesn't mean you have to give up retail WoW or modern WoW where it is now. It just means that you have another experience, or if you're like, I know I've done all my raiding, I've done all my world quests, I think I'll level up my classic, my classic tune instead. So go for it. You'll be great, and you'll have yourself a good time with it. Again, any questions that you have about classic WoW or vanilla WoW, and you want to know what to expect that I haven't gone over this video either in detail or at all, please put in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer your questions as best as I possibly can. Maybe make a supplement video to this one. And as always, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, especially if you like this movie. Give me that thumbs up. We really appreciate it. That's helpful with me. And if you didn't like this video, well, you did click on it and you did sit through it, so you can only blame yourself at this point. And as always, guys, until the next video, see ya.